a lot of guys are no longer dating. I have never seen a time where so many men are so proud to say that they're single. They have their own place, they have their own cars, they got good jobs, they're not being judged. They don't have to worry about if something goes wrong, they're getting exposed all over the internet. Do you know the dating scene, not only here in Texas, but everywhere? Guys are just enjoying their lives of being stress-free without all of the headaches. Do you know every time someone starts to date somebody, whether that person has a name for them or the other person has a name for themselves, do you know every time an argument occurs within their household, they get exposed, it's all over the internet? And a lot of guys have experienced it and they're tired of it. So a lot of these men now, they don't care no more about no baddie, because a baddie ain't paying no bills. The looks ain't bringing nothing to the table. A lot of these guys would rather just be single and do their little thing on the side and send their little tails on home. And a lot of females are doing it too. A lot of women want to stay single. They don't want nothing to do with a man or a relationship. But I notice mostly guys now, I've never seen a time like where I have seen so many men are staying single. So I put a post up a while back and I asked, why do so many men stay single now, and why are so many men so happy to be single? A lot of the guys' comments says peace of mind. The majority said that they're tired of getting into it with their girls or their significant others and they got to get exposed all over the internet, and then a week or two they right back together. So we live in a time now where people don't even want to be in relationships anymore.
At some point, a man starts looking at the return on his investment and simply stops participating when the numbers no longer make sense. Modern dating can feel less like building a genuine relationship and more like navigating expectations, emotional baggage, and increasingly expensive outings. Spending $100 or $200 on a date isn't necessarily the problem. The problem is repeatedly spending the time, money, and energy only to discover there was never much compatibility to begin with. Run through that cycle enough times, and eventually a man stops being disappointed and starts being selective. He's not bitter about it. He simply realizes his peace is worth more than another expensive evening going nowhere. Once that realization hits, walking away becomes surprisingly easy.
I really don't.
Right.
I just like the freedom to do what I want, when I want, where I want.
Right. I think
And that's really what it boils down to. People are like, oh, you're 45 and you're single and this and this and this. Like, I just like that I can do what I want.
Yeah.
If I'm tired, I go home and go to bed. If I want to go back to work, I can work till 3 a.m. I don't have to feel like, are you cheating? Who's the girl in the background? That's my bar manager. Why are she here with you at 2 a.m? Because we're opening up a bar in 3 weeks. I don't have to deal with that. And I think I like that. And I see too many people that have to live by somebody else's emotions and someone else's feelings.
That whole "I'll do whatever I want" mentality sounds empowering until another person is expected to build a relationship around it. Freedom works just fine when you're single, but relationships naturally require responsibility, consideration, compromise, and occasionally putting someone else's interests beside your own. You can't demand complete independence while simultaneously expecting somebody else to provide commitment on your terms. Eventually, people figure out that arrangement isn't much of a partnership at all. Instead of arguing about it, more men are simply deciding they would rather maintain their independence. Sometimes the easiest way to avoid unnecessary conflict is refusing to volunteer for it.
Men in your 20s, avoid getting a girlfriend unless you meet a unicorn that alters your life. Staying single is a competitive advantage to make you more successful, save money, and network and meet more people. Not only that, a relationship is a job in itself, and you're dealing with someone's emotions, traumas, and different things that happen. While there's a lot of great benefits to being in a relationship, unless it's a person you're meant to be with, avoid it at all costs. Dating itself, depending on how much you make and where you live, costs $30,000 to $50,000 a year. And for anybody that listens that makes real money and has a nice lifestyle and you have to double that, the costs are sometimes more than $100K. When you're building from scratch and trying to figure out life, you do not need to have to answer to someone. You don't have to tell people where you are. You need to conserve that energy and move fast. Date women, have fun, but don't make it serious, and focus on developing yourself. And when you're at your peak in your 30s, find the right.
There's a reason some men eventually stop searching so aggressively for a relationship. After enough disappointing experiences, they become more protective of their time, money, energy, and emotional bandwidth. By their 30s and 40s, many have careers, routines, friendships, hobbies, and lives they've spent years building. So a relationship has to genuinely improve that situation rather than constantly disrupt it. That's not resentment. That's having standards for what you're willing to introduce into your life. Peace starts looking considerably more attractive when you've experienced the alternative enough times. At that point, being single stops feeling like something that needs to be fixed.
As someone who speaks to and coaches many men who are going through a divorce, one of the biggest struggles that I know they face is trying to figure out what the future will hold. Look, I'm not trying to kid anyone that going through a divorce or even a breakup of a relationship is easy. It's not, especially if it's a contentious one. And I know that from personal experience a few decades back when I was battling X1, as I call her, for years in court. I often struggled to see any light at the end of the tunnel. And I know it seems daunting, but I promise you it does get better. Much, much better, in fact, as so many men have found out. Which is why today I want to share with you my 5 unexpected perks of being single again for men. These are the very same ones that I talk about with the men who are going through a divorce or breakup, but the truth is it applies every bit as much to men who aren't in relationships or going through breakups. And these are in no particular order except the one I'm saving for last, which is, in my opinion, the best thing about being single for men. We'll get to that, but first let's look at some of the other perks. My first one, I call you being in charge. Let's face it, fellas, when we're in a relationship with a woman, it almost always becomes entirely about her. Your goals, your wants, your needs become secondary to hers, if they're even a consideration at all. Remember all those weekends spent at her friend Becky's apartment, listening to them drone on about who knows what while you have to paste on a smile as you slowly die of boredom inside? No more having to spend weekends antiquing or watching yet another one of those inane movies on Hallmark that she so loves, where every woman who is looking for that perfect guy just happens to find him when she least expects it. No more dealing with any of that. You get to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want, or just do nothing at all. Because guess what? No one's making plans for you anymore. You're in control of your life, and no one can do a damn thing about it. Next up, financial freedom. That old axiom that what's hers is hers and what's yours is hers exists for a reason. It's why so many married men or men in relationships are constantly checking their bank accounts, hoping they won't end up having a heart attack in the process. When you're single, your money stays your money. No more being on a first-name basis with the UPS guy as he drops off yet another mystery Amazon package. No more quick trips to Target for just one thing that somehow end up lasting 2 hours and result in you walking out with 14 scented candles, 2 more pillows to add to the 29 she's already piling up on the bed every morning, not to mention that plant she always wanted that ends up dying in a week anyway. You get to make all of the financial decisions and spend the money on what makes you happy instead of what makes her happy. And oh, by the way, it's why so many men, even when they have to pay child support and alimony, end up better off financially after the breakup, while their ex is struggling to afford her $2 chuck and food for her cat. Next up, and I know some of you guys are going to laugh and agree with me on this one, you get to eat whatever the hell you want. You want chili fries or pancakes for dinner? Go right ahead. Want to have steak or wings for the 4th time this week? By all means. No more listening to her saying, "Why are you eating that again?" or "Don't you want to try something new once in a while?" You can eat anything you want, and as an additional bonus, you don't have to put up with her stealing all the fries off your plate after you asked her if she wanted her own order and her saying, "No, I'm not hungry." Which brings us to number 4, which is life becomes a lot less stressful. The truth is, most guys have no idea how much stress they're under in a relationship until it's gone. No more dealing with her drama. No more inane questions every day like, do you still love me? No more having to listen to her go on and on about what her friend Becky's husband did for her and why can't you be more like him? No more putting up with her bitching because you left a spoon in the sink or didn't put those aforementioned 29 pillows back on the bed in just the right way when you made it. All of that goes away and is replaced by number 5, and what I think is the biggest perk for men, which is peace. Sweet, glorious peace. As I said, no more fighting about the dishes. No more, we need to talk at 11 p.m. when you just want to go to bed. No more having to feel guilty because you just wanted 10 minutes of quiet time to yourself when you got home from your long day's work before you gave the kids a bath. It's just you, your thoughts, and peace. Sweet, blissful peace. Look, relationships can be great, but the reality is most of them aren't. For every great one, there's 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 that aren't. Your odds of finding and maintaining a great relationship these days really aren't much better than those of winning the lottery. Which is why escaping a bad one, while yes, painful at first, in the end often turns out to be the best thing that ever happened to a man. You don't have to believe me. Just go read the thousands of comments on some of my videos from men who have escaped. Hell, I'm sure some will comment on this video. And as one guy recently said to me, being single after being in a horrible marriage is like finally exhaling after holding your breath for years.
Eventually, some men realize they don't actually have to keep auditioning for a role in somebody else's soap opera. The drama, manipulation, arguments, mixed signals, and emotional games become considerably less interesting once a man discovers how peaceful life can be without them. He starts putting that energy into his health, finances, career, hobbies, children, friendships, and whatever else gives his life meaning. Silence stops feeling lonely and starts feeling comfortable. Freedom stops being something he's waiting to receive from somebody else and becomes something he actively protects. And once a man becomes genuinely comfortable with that lifestyle, convincing him to give it up becomes a much harder sell.
Why are single men happier than you think? A lot of single men are not actually miserable. A lot of them are doing better than fine. Society likes to push the idea, oh, men are lost without a woman. That's a lie. For years now, men have been told that their happiness only comes from marriage and kids and overall settling down. But modern relationships don't offer men the same benefits that they used to. Men aren't wrong for asking what's in it for me before they go into a really serious relationship. Single men today have financial freedom and overall peace of mind. They have control over their own lives. They're traveling, building businesses, hitting the gym, and overall going after their goals. And until women are willing to offer a little bit more in relationships, this is going to continue. Holding men to these outdated expectations, but also a variety of new ones that show up every single day, is just not doing it for them. And they're not going to continue having relationships if this keeps up.
At the end of the day, most of these men aren't looking for a fight with anybody. They're not trying to prove a point, punish women, or convince everyone else to make the same choices they have. They've simply figured out what brings stability to their lives and started protecting it accordingly. If a healthy relationship comes along and genuinely adds to that peace, great. If it doesn't, they're becoming increasingly comfortable continuing exactly as they are. We don't want any problems. We're just protecting our peace. If the message hit, like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.